There was no quick way down off the mesa. To plummet off the edge would be suicide, either by the fall or perhaps by the guns that waited below. It'll take me half an hour to work my way around to the south and back up that river. Knowing it was his only reasonable choice, Brannon turned El Viento south and loped the horse through the roaring sandstorm. As he worked his way off the south end of the mesa, the wind decreased the more he descended. He found that vision improved on the valley floor, which allowed him to see a row of brush sheltering a stream, or at least a stream bed. Brannon held El Viento back against the base of the mesa and waited for another gunshot to reveal position. He pulled his canteen off the saddle, sloshed some water into his cupped hand, and let the horse slobber up the moisture. Then he took a swig out of the canteen and pulled off his bandana. Soaking the red rag, he wiped off his face, wrung it out, and retied it around his neck. Maybe just some target practice, or shooting at game, but I can't imagine what game there'd be out here. If those were horses I sighted, and if they are the only ones out here, and if they haven't moved, and if they are just pilgrims passing through, then... Brannon shoved a few more shells into the breech of the Winchester. Then he dug his extra Colt out of the bedroll tied to the cantle, spun the chamber, and jammed the gun into his belt. I've been wrong before. He adjusted the cinch on El Viento, remounted, and rode out away from the mesa toward what he supposed to be a river. The green ribbon he had spotted from on top turned out to be brush, not trees, and what he'd hoped was a river was only a meager creek, already starting to sink back into its underground summer resting place. As El Viento drank his fill, Brannon slipped down off the saddle and filled his canteen, never releasing his grip on the Winchester, nor taking his eyes off the north. He spied a rough trail on the far side of the creek. No reason to be too obvious. Come on, boy. We'll stay over in this brush. The wind was so mild that the dust storm now looked merely like clouds up on the mesa. As Brannon rode straight into the breeze, he noticed El Viento twitch his ears. He pulled up on the reins and turned his head. "What do you hear, boy?" he whispered. Then, in the hum of the breeze, they both heard the whinnying of a horse. "Well, someone's up there." Fearing making too high a profile above the brush, Brannon dismounted and led El Viento toward the sound of the horse. Walking slowly and quietly, he edged his way closer until he heard not only a horse, but jumbled voices shouting. "Someone's not exactly happy," he thought. Brannon caught sight of a wagon and team. 4 saddled horses milled around near the wagon, but no one was in sight. Tying off El Viento, he crept through the head-high brush until he could see into a slight clearing next to the creek. Unable to distinguish the voices, he could see several men with guns pointed toward a dark-haired twosome huddled in the middle of a circle. The gunmen looked dirty, rough, hard, the kind that drifted into most every western town. Men who would end up as early residents of Boot Hill, or the guests of honor at a necktie party. "Well, Brannon, how can you take sides when you don't know the argument? Looks like a man's down, maybe 2. Mexicans. And a woman." Glancing at the man and woman, he recognized the dark satin and lace, the waist-length jacket, and the tall, stove-top boots of Mexican aristocracy. He cocked the lever on his Winchester as slowly as possible and inched his way closer. Now, the voices were distinguishable. "Sure hope you folks enjoy your new place. Right, Lacey?" A fat man in a brown vest sneered. "Are we gonna leave 'em out here, Case?" "Why, certainly. They wanted to see their rancho, and we showed it to 'em." "Even the woman? Could we take her with us, couldn't we?" A younger man with a wispy beard stepped toward the couple. 4 horses, 4 men, 4 guns, maybe. Brannon was still trying to assess strategy when the youngest gunman reached out and grabbed the woman by the arm. Instantly, the man by her side threw a hard right into the jaw of the